Hey everybody, welcome to Embroidery Sundays. I am going to show you how to get started quick with your Brother PRS 100 Persona Embroidery Machine. Now, if you don't own this particular model, some of this information will be helpful no matter which embroidery machine you own. So I don't want you to think that this series is just for embroidery PRS 100 Persona owners, because after I finish reviewing the machine and showing all the specifics to that, I'm going to move on to lots of fun techniques and different embroidery projects that you can do on any embroidery machine. So today I thought, let me show you how to start embroidering right after you've set up your machine. If you missed the unboxing and setup video I did last week, I put a link to that below this video so you can check that out. Today I'm going to just work with the quick reference guide to show you a quick start embroidery tutorial. So to start, just to review the things we're going to need, I'm going to be working with the 200 by 200 millimeter hoop that comes with the machine. I'm going to be using a heavy piece of muslin to test stitch a sample. You may need stabilizer. This is a soft and sheer cutaway stabilizer. There are many different types of stabilizer, and in an upcoming episode of Embroidery Sundays, I will go over different types of stabilizer. But for now, if you have a cutaway, a tearaway, something that you can pair with a sample fabric like a muslin, that'll be great for today, because what we're going to do today is just thread the machine, wind a bobbin, hoop the fabric, bring an embroidery design onto the screen, and stitch it out. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is show you how to wind a bobbin. All right, so I'm at the machine, and the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to take the bobbin case out of the bobbin area here. This swings forward, so you gently pull that forward. Then you can reach in and take the bobbin out. Okay, so that's how you take the bobbin and bobbin case out of the machine. Now let me show you how to wind a bobbin. The instructions to wind a bobbin are on page 4 of the quick reference instruction guide. So let's get started. Step 1 is to turn the machine on. Step 2 is to put the bobbin on the bobbin seating area, and I'm just going to turn the machine over to the side here so I can show you that. All right, so the bobbin seating area is right here, so I'm going to stick that on the post. Then the next step is to put the bobbin thread on the spool stand, and I have it right here. Now if you're new to embroidery, bobbin thread is a lightweight thread. It's typically lighter weight than your embroidery thread. You can find bobbin thread at any sewing store that carries embroidery supplies. So I've got my bobbin thread here, and you'll remember in the last video, if you were following along with me, there's lots of holes up here, and the good news is there are separate holes and thread guides for bobbin winding, and then there are separate holes for threading your machine. That way you can wind a bobbin while you're embroidering, which is very cool. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the thread and you're going to put it from behind through this hole in the thread stand. Okay, so it's coming from back to front in this hole right here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put it front to back through the hole right above it. Okay, so we're sort of threading it to the front, then we're threading it to the back. Okay, so it goes back to front and then front to back. Then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it around this little tension guide right here, and I'm wrapping it in a counterclockwise direction. And you can see step 5 in the quick reference guide shows it going in the counterclockwise direction. Then, after it's wrapped around, I'm going to thread it through this center hole right here. So it's going from back to front in the center hole. Okay, so that is the threading for the bobbin thread. Okay, then it goes directly to the bobbin. So again, I'm going to turn my machine to the side so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to take the bobbin thread that I've threaded and I'm going to wrap it around the bobbin. And we want to wrap it around the bobbin so we are going, again, we're going to be going counterclockwise. So watch what I'm doing here. See, I'm just wrapping it around, 5 or 6 times, maybe 10 times. And then I'm just going to cut it on one of the thread cutters that are built right into the bobbin seat. All right, so I've cut that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flick this forward and I'm going to turn the machine on at this point and I'm going to show you what the screen looks like. You may have remembered from the first video when I unboxed this that you need to oil the bobbin race every time you embroider. So I'm going to show you how to do that before I put the bobbin in. But for now, I'm just going to say okay. And I'm going to, oh, I got to return the bobbin holder to its original spot. Hold on. All right. All right, so I'm going to flick the switch again. And what it shows us here is the controls for winding your bobbin. Now the cool thing about this is you can slow down the rate at which it winds. I'm going to go ahead and go at full blast. So I'm going to press start, then I'm going to rotate the machine around so you can see it winding. So I'm going to press start, and let's look and see what's happening. All right, so you can see the bobbin is winding. Okay, and it does it for you automatically. Now that it's done threading, the lever flicked back to its original place. I can take this off and I can just use the knife that's built into the bobbin seat to cut it. Okay, so I've got my bobbin right here and I've got my bobbin case. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the bobbin case like this and I'm going to put the bobbin in so that it's turning clockwise. Okay, so the bobbin is actually going to rotate clockwise. Let me just show you that. See how it's rotating clockwise? And then you take the thread and there's a little slit right there. I'm just going to feed it through that slit and into this hole in this clip right here. So now my bobbin is in the bobbin case correctly. I'm going to go back down to where the hook cover is and show you where we need to oil the race, and then we'll put the bobbin back in. The first thing we're going to do to prepare the hook area to apply the oil is we're going to turn the hand wheel, which is located at the center back of the machine. We're going to turn it until the line on the hand wheel, which is right here, lines up with this little triangle right here. And I'm just going to turn my hand wheel so that the line on the hand wheel matches that triangle. And that's going to put the hook area in the right spot to apply the oil. Where we want to put the oil is in the space right behind this cutout here. Literally just going to open my oiler. This comes with the machine. And I'm just going to apply literally a teeny little drop right in there. It's going to lubricate that whole moving part. All right, now that we've put the oil in, I'm going to get the bobbin case with the bobbin in it already. And you can see there's a little door, a little latch right here. If I hold the latch, the bobbin does not fall out, see? So I'm holding onto that latch, and I'm just going to put the bobbin case back in and close the latch. Now I like to pull the bobbin thread to make sure that the bobbin case is in there securely. If I pull the bobbin thread and the bobbin case stays in there nice and secure, I know it's in there right. Sometimes if you don't hold the latch properly, it can go in but not be securely in, and it'll pop back out when you pull this thread. So I'm happy that my bobbin my bobbin case is in properly. I'm going to cut the thread and shut the door. All right, so if you need instructions, detailed instructions on how to oil the hook, those are on page 168 of the instruction manual, and it shows you in a detailed step-by-step if you need more information about that. Now we're going to thread the machine. The bobbin thread is here. I'm just going to take it out of all of the thread paths, and I'm just going to leave it over to this side so it doesn't get tangled with the embroidery thread. So if you're following along in the quick reference manual, the threading instructions start on page 5 of the quick reference guide. So what we're going to do is we have the spool goes on the spool pin like this. Then I'm going to forego the cap that can go on the top, but if you have a shorter spool, Brother does give you these caps that you can put on top. The spool is too long for that, so I'm going to leave it off. Okay, so the next step is just like the first step in winding the bobbin thread. We're going to go back to front through the hole directly above the spool. Okay, so that's the first step in threading. Then instead of threading up here, we're going to come straight down to this area, and I'm going to thread it back to front through that hole. Where did it go? All right, I'm going to turn the machine slightly so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, there's a little clip right here. I'm going to put the thread underneath that clip. Okay, so I'm going to hold it from the top and the bottom and just thread it under there. Okay. And then we're going to wind the thread clockwise around the tension unit. And I'm going to hold it here and here so I can wrap it around and make sure it really gets into that tension unit. Okay, that's really important. You want to make sure it's firmly positioned in there. Okay. Then the next step is to put it in this clip, and these two clips are identical in that you just slide it from left to right underneath. Okay, so clip here, clockwise around there, around the tension unit, and then into this clip. Now I'm going to turn the machine forward so you can see the rest of the threading path. Okay, so the next step is we are going to follow the thread guide. We're going to go down, around, and then I'm going to turn my hand wheel that's in back so I can thread it through the hole in the take-up lever. So it's going to go right to left through there. Okay, and then back down. The next step is it's going to go through, there's a hole, and if I turn the machine sideways you might be able to see it better, but it's recessed in this area down here. I'm going to put the thread through this hole. That's another thread guide. Alright, so now I can pull it from underneath, making sure it doesn't get tangled on this. This is a thread cutter, so I don't want to tangle my thread on that. So let me pull it so it's taut. The next step is there is a thread guide right above the needle, and I'm just going to turn the hand wheel in the back of the machine to lower the needle So I can just reach around and thread it through that guide like this. Okay, so that's all set. Now the next step is to thread the needle. I'm going to rotate the needle back up a little bit, and there's a button on the right below the screen next to the microphone. I'm going to press that. I'm getting a message that says inappropriate needle stop position. So I closed that and notice the needle moved. That puts it in the correct spot. So I'm going to press it again and notice that the needle threader engages. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to tuck the thread underneath the two guides on the needle threader, and I'm going to hold the thread to the right up against the needle under those guides. When I press the button again, I'm going to let the thread be pulled through the hole. So you can't hold this thread super tight or you're going to break your needle threader. So watch as I loosely hold this thread. Watch what happens when I press the button. Okay, so you can see what it did was it created a loop that you can pull out, and then I'm going to wrap it around and use the thread cutter. All right, so now the machine is threaded and ready to go. All right, so now that the machine is threaded and ready to go, the next step is to prep our hoop. And in this lesson, I am just going to show you how to hoop fabric. I'm not going to get into positioning the design on fabric. We'll do that on a later video. But I just want to, give you information so you can just try it out, which is like super exciting. I'm not going to be using stabilizer because I'm using a very heavyweight muslin to do a test stitch out of a monogram I'm working with for a project that I'm doing for a client. I'm actually going to be monogramming 24 linen napkins for her daughter's wedding. So I just want to test out the design with the colors that I picked, and I'm just going to leave it with just the fabric because this fabric is very sturdy. But if you need to use stabilizer, you want to cut a piece that is large enough to hoop into the hoop with the fabric. Okay, so I'm going to skip that step, but you get your stabilizer if you're working with a fabric that's not really hefty. All right, so the way this works is I installed frame holder A to my machine, and you can see that this is one of the hoops that you can use with frame holder A. Okay, so I'm going to take apart the top. I'm going to put the fabric on top of the lower part of the hoop. Now notice you've got a screw here. You can loosen this up a little bit, lefty loosen, because you don't want to try to clamp down the hoop with the fabric and have it be too tight because you can break your hoop. So I just loosen that a little bit. Then I'm going to take this top part of the hoop and I'm going to push it down to secure the fabric. And then I'm going to reach in and I'm going to tighten that screw just a little bit. It may be a little hard for your fingers to tighten the hoop. So I'm going to use this screwdriver that comes with the machine, and I'm just going to righty tighten it just a little bit, maybe a quarter turn, just to give it some snugness. Then I'm going to pull the fabric so it's firmly in the hoop. All right, so now our hoop is ready to go. Next, I'm going to show you how to attach the embroidery frame or hoop to the embroidery frame holder. Okay, so you can see on either side of the hoop, you've got these brackets, and then on the frame holder, there's these little clips. They're on both sides. Okay, so there's one here, and there's one over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide my hoop under the needle, put it at a little bit of an angle so that these brackets lift up those clips, and then I can just push it back until it snaps in place. So what happens is these little pins settle into a hole here and into this opening over here. So now the hoop is firmly attached into the frame holder, or the frame is attached to the frame holder. All right, so this machine comes with many built-in designs. And you can see from this home menu that you've got designs, another set of designs, you've got all over quilting designs, you've got two kinds of lettering, and you've got frames. I'm not going to deal with those today. Instead, what I'm going to do is I have a USB storage device. I'm going to stick that into the port for it on the side. So let me just turn it to the side so you can see where I plug that in. Okay, so it goes in right there. You know, so that's basically how you can get designs to your machine. You put them on here from your computer, and then you plug that in there, and then you click the USB icon, which is the middle one of this bottom row of buttons. I'm just going to press that. And then I've put the design right here, so I can just select that. Now notice it comes up on the screen, okay? So the first thing we have to do is set it. So I'm going to press the set button, and it is now set. If I wanted to move it around, I could move it around. But I'm just going to leave it where it is for now. I'm going to click embroidery. All right. Now in embroidery, there is one feature I absolutely love because it gives me a second chance at making sure that the design is in the right spot before I embroider it. I'm going to click on the Based in the Hoop button, which is, it's 2 buttons away from the rotate button. It's right here. I'm going to click that. Okay, so I've got Based in the Hoop now. Okay, and then I want to show you what happens in the hoop before we start embroidering. I think you can see there's a little red dot in the center of the hoop. That's the center of the hoop, and that's where the center of the design will be. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press the unlock button right here on the screen, touch screen, and then notice my start stop button is flashing green. I'm going to press it, and it's going to do the basting stitches. Let's watch that. You'll notice that the basting stitches are very long and easy to take out. Having basting stitches around your design will allow you to see if your embroidery design is in the right position. Okay, so then you can see the red dot reappeared. That's where it's going to start embroidering the first color. So I'm going to unlock the machine, and I'm going to embroider the first color. All right, isn't that cool? It cut the thread. It finished embroidering, it cut the thread, and we're ready to do the second color. Now I'm going to show you how to pull the thread through. We're going to tie it and pull it on instead of rethreading. This is super convenient for designs that have a lot of color changes. And normally if I'm teaching a serger class and people ask me about tying threads and pulling them through, I'm all for it unless you don't know how to thread. So just like with your serger, if you don't know how to thread this machine, keep threading it until it becomes second nature. After you remember how to thread the machine, then tying them and pulling them through is a really handy way to get to the next color quick. Let me show you how to do it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my second color ready. It's a brand new spool, so I have to just untangle the end here. All right, so to get the second color ready, what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread it through the hole right above the spool, just like I did the first time with the first color. All right, so I've got that threaded through there. Now, instead of threading, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my thread near the spool, and I'm going to take that end and I'm going to join it with the new color, and I'm going to wrap it around my finger, create a loop, and then put the tails through the loop. And that will create a strong knot that will allow me to pull it through. Now that I've tied that knot, I'm going to use my tweezers to get the tail, and I'm just going to pull it towards me gently until the knot arrives at the hole in the needle, which is right here. And the one thing is you can't pull the knot through the hole of your needle, so I'm just going to pull out some extra, trim it. I'm going to get rid of the previous color, and then we'll have another shot at using the threader. So I'm going to click the thread needle button. I'm going to wrap it around both of those guides like that. Okay, and then I can use my tweezers to just tweeze out that thread from behind. I'm going to wrap it around and cut it. And then we're going to start the second color. I'm going to let it run until the design is finished so I can show you. So let me unlock the machine. I'm going to start embroidering, and then I'm going to zoom in really close so you can watch this machine embroider for a little while. I just want to say that as it jumps around to parts of the embroidery, it will slow down and start back up. So this machine is stitching at 1,000 stitches a minute, but it does have variable speed for when it needs to slow down to start and stop sections. All right, let's keep going. Aww, look at how nice that is. The design is finished. Now let me show you how to take the embroidery frame out of the embroidery frame holder. Okay, so there are little round metal tabs on either side of the frame, here and here. So if you press, what you're going to do is you're going to hold those down, and you're going to press the hoop up and then slide it forward. Okay, and it comes out. All right, let's take a close look at this on the table. All right, you can see this design stitched out beautifully. One thing you want to have handy when you're working with embroidery is a small pair of embroidery scissors. I personally like the ones with the curved blade. That way I can reach right in and trim all of my jump stitches. You know, and depending on where you get your embroidery and how many color changes there may be, you know, more or less in jump stitch trimming. But basically, you know, I trim that, and then I just want to show you how easy it is to take this basting out. Literally, all I have to do is clip the knot in the corner and then use the tips of my scissors to pull the thread out. And then another thing is if you turn it upside down, the bobbin thread pulls out much easier. So see if I literally can just wing it out. As a general rule, bobbin thread usually pulls out easier than needle thread. So I'm just gonna pull that out. You know, while I'm on the bottom, I probably would want to clip those threads as well. Okay, and you can see the tension on this machine is really nice. You can see that the back of the design looks similarly as nice as the front of the design. So that's what the back looks like. I'm just going to get rid of all of these bobbin threads here. All right, so let's look at it one more time from the front. I can simply push the bottom of the frame off to get it out of the hoop. And then we'll just take one more look at it flat. Okay, so there's an example of a stitched design. So if you have any questions or comments about winding a bobbin, threading the machine, changing colors, hooping your fabric, any of these basics, please post them below and I will help you. If you have a specific embroidery question, please post those as well, because I will be answering subscriber questions in this series as they come along. So even if you don't own the Brother PRS 100 Persona Embroidery Machine, please feel free to participate, ask questions, ask me specific questions about things that you are struggling with in your machine embroidery, and I will help you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Join me next Sunday for another episode of Sunday Embroidery.